Hi everyone, welcome back. It is a new month and you know what that means. We have another Manny and Me box from Maniology. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to dive right into this box. So this is what it looks like right when you open it. I love this saying right here, what will you create next? And then we already have a sneak peek of the color palette. So we have these beautiful purples and yellows. We have some really fun print on the postcard. And then on the back of the postcard, it tells you a breakdown of everything that's in the box and then how they created the theme. This month is a 90s theme. And then here's the inspiration card. And it's definitely giving you all those 90 kind of vibes. I love the colors. And then it also gives you some tips and tricks on the back of the card as well to help you through your stamping journey. Now, everything is always wrapped really nicely, and I'm always intrigued on how everything just stays so nicely in this packaging. So we're going to open it right up because this is where all the goodies that we're going to be using in today's set. The first item that we have are two stamping polishes, and I always get really excited when I see these because we always get two stamping polishes, but the best part is that we're getting a little bit of an early sneak peek of what's to come with Maniology. So we get first dibs on some brand new colors, and these colors are perfect for that summer season. And I love the names VHS Violet and Beeper Buzz. I think the names are so fun. They're definitely playing on the 90s theme. So we have a gorgeous bright fluorescent purple, and then it's going to pair perfectly with that Beeper Buzz. Look at, we have a beautiful fluorescent yellow. This is going to come in handy for today's set. We're going to dive into both of those colors. And then we have a pigment powder, which was a little extra that was included in the box. They always include two of the stamping polishes, a bonus item, which you see here, and then you get two exclusive stamping plates. So check it out. We're pulling in the yellow. Nothing screams 90s like a bright fluorescent pop of color. So that is a great addition to this month's box. And then we have the two exclusive stamping plates, and stay tuned. We're going to dive into all these, so I'm not going to spoil it because I want you to see how fun these palettes really are. Then for today's set, we are going to recreate this look right here. I had so much fun recreating last month's inspo card, so I figured let's just keep that trend going. First order of business is finding that perfect base color. This one is pulling in just a little bit more blue, but we do have the perfect yellow, so we're going to use Peeps. And then I was looking at this new color coming out soon, and it was just a little bit too dark, and it matched almost identical to that stamping polish, so that was a no-go. And then I remembered I have this perfect, it's like a beautiful pastel purple, and this just matched that base color perfectly, and that is from Valla. And everything that we're using in today's video can be found in that description box below. So we're going to be creating that same set. I'm going to use the shape medium almond for today's set, and we're just going to start off with that purple first. See, isn't that almost identical to that postcard? This is a really beautiful formula. If you are looking for some beautiful pastels that are not chalky, streaky, in full coverage right off the bat with that first coat, these are going to be your go-to. So I'm just going to apply it to the thumbnail, and I'm going to only do one coat. That's all that I needed. I'm going to cure that for 30 seconds. I'm going to do the rest of the purple nails off camera just to save some time, but I did want to show you the base colors in action so you can get a really good feel on these beautiful colors. And then for that yellow, this right here is the perfect bright pop of yellow to really just complement the stamping polishes that we're going to be incorporating today. If you don't want to use gels, you don't have to. You could even use the stamping polishes for an all over color. Just keep in mind they do dry really fast, which is also a plus. Or you could use your favorite traditional nail polish. So we're just finishing up that yellow nail. I'm going to go ahead and pop that in the lamp and check it out. This is pretty close to that base color that we're going to get for today's look. So the first thing that we're going to do is, even though I'm not doing a lot of layering, I still want a really sticky, tacky layer. So I'm just going to go in with a layer of that transfer foil glue. I'm going to apply it all over the nail just like you would your gel base or gel top coat. And then for this one particular, it does say in the directions to cure for 60 seconds. And we are going to start with the thumbnail and the pinky first. And while that's curing, I'm going to go ahead and now prep the stamping plate. We're going to go in, we're going to see VHS Violet for the first time, and this is such a good color. Now today you're going to see me do a little bit of trial and error when it comes to this palette, and I kept some of these pieces in so you could really see what worked for me when it came to this palette and what did not work for me. So I'm starting off like I normally would. I put some stamping polish down, I rolled it, I picked up the image, and it still has that like little bit of airbrush effect, and I'm just gonna go ahead and clean it up, and I just want to see what it looks like on the nail first, and then we'll go from there. And what I mean by troubleshooting this stamping palette, so it's engraved differently because it gives you an effortless airbrush effect, which is really awesome. And I'm really actually excited about this because once I figured out how to utilize this palette, it worked like a dream. And this is by far something really cool because airbrushing in general is something I never wanted to dive into, especially because you have to have a ventilated room. You don't want to, it's a whole mess in itself that I just don't want to tackle. So if I can create a really easy, effortless airbrush effect with some stamping tools, I'm totally here for it. So another thing that I ran into is that when I cleaned it with a normal cotton pad, it was picking up some of the fibers from the cotton pad, so you want to use a lint-free wipe because of the texture from the engraving will pick up those hairs from the cotton ball itself. So you want to use a lint-free wipe when you are cleaning your stamping palette. So right now I'm just kind of playing with it, seeing how do I get the best image possible. And you're going to see once we get to the third, fourth finger, you're going to see how easy it is to use this palette, so do not get discouraged. Now I'm picking up a couple different heart images because I really wanted to get that perfect airbrush effect. So I picked up probably like 8 different images for this heart right here. And at the end, I still wasn't 100% satisfied on the thumb or the pinky nail. I felt like I could have put the heart a little bit higher up, but I am going to go ahead and redo that thumb and the pinky nail at the end. I'm just kind of doing a little bit of trial and error here just because it is cut a little bit different on that stamping palette that I'm used to. And then now we're going to move on to that ring finger. So I'm going to start with, I'm trying to figure out the best way to tackle this design. So I figured we'll start with the outer image first, and then once we go ahead and place that, then do the middle of the star with that yellow color. That image right there is absolutely perfection. And then I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go in with that beautiful beeper yellow. That is by far the best yellow right here for summer. I feel like you're going to be able to do so many different things with it. Now the hardest part was trying to line it up just right. I'm like holding my breath right here just to try and line it up as best as I could. And I did not really like it, so I just have a little bit of acetone. I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off, and we're just going to start over. Now this time I'm going to start with the solid kind of star design first, then go in with the outer. I wanted to see if maybe I would get a better outcome for that. I'm really trying to get it just to pop a little bit more on that nail. So we're going to go ahead and try it this way. And once I go ahead and line it up just like that, we're going to go ahead now and just, I pressed everything down and I still was not liking where everything was. So we're going to take this nail and just go in a different direction. We're going to add a little bit of dimension. So I figured we're going to add some little bit, it kind of looks like a little bit of a spray paint kind of moment here right at the tip. And this is when I noticed I needed more polish on the plate than I'm used to when it comes to stamping. So now that I'm getting into a good rhythm on how the stamping plate works, I think it's going to be smooth sailing going forward. So I do want to play with this bright fluorescent pigment. So I had a little bit that fell out right there on the paper towel. So instead of just dipping into the jar, I'm just going to utilize that fallout there, and I just gently pressed it in with a little bit of an eyeshadow brush. This is a brush that I use for ombre, and I just tapped it right in the middle, and then I'm going to go ahead and tap some right into that heart right here. And look, it just kind of gives it that perfect pop of color. And then I'm just going to go ahead and brush it over this entire nail. I was just kind of playing with that powder, but it's really fun and it's just really bright, and it just gives that nail just an extra pop of color. But overall, a really fun accessory that they included in this, and that is what the yellow that I needed for that whole set, just to really make it pop over that purple. So now we're moving on to another nail that has this really beautiful aurora effect right in the middle here. And isn't that beautiful? Just like that. I really like how that looks. And then to protect this, because I do like how this turned out, I'm going to go ahead and do a layer of that transfer foil glue all over the nail. Cure for 60 seconds. While that's curing, we're going to go ahead and pick up an image. And this is really fun. It has a star, and this is just overall a really fun stamping plate. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of use out of this. Now, the the yellow on top of this purple, you can see it, but it's not as bright. So then what I'm going to do is we're just going to go back in with that pigment powder, and a little bit of that pigment powder goes a long way. So just keep that in mind. And we're just going to go ahead and just tap some of that powder right on that little star in the middle, and then I'm going to go ahead and dust it off. And then I am going to go ahead and just apply a little bit more yellow to the stars on the outer nail. But now that I'm getting into a groove with this palette, and I know that it needs way more stamping polish than I thought, in a very, very delicate light scrape. You don't want to scrape too hard. You just want to just hover over it really carefully and just gently scrape. You're going to get the perfect image. So this one right here, the flames, was by far my favorite nail. Look at that. We have the coolest image transfer. And then just to brighten these flames up a little bit more, we're going to go ahead and add some yellow. Now, when you're working with stamping plates, don't get discouraged if you don't get the perfect image right away. You might just need a little bit more polish like you saw here, and then just a gentle scrape. But I'm so glad I figured this out because this palette is so fun and I cannot wait to create some more designs. And I'm really liking this flame one right here. It is absolutely so fun, and that image came out perfectly. And I'm loving the flames. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up the set today. I ended up redoing the star. You can see it's definitely more of that airbrush effect. So we're going to do a layer of gel top coat on all the nails, and then I figured what would make this more 90s by doing a little bit of a matte finish. So that is what we did today. We did a matte finish. So here's the finished set. It is definitely giving those 90 vibes. It looks pretty close to that inspo postcard. We did switch up that ring finger, but overall I really liked how this turned out, and here's what the set looks like on. So everything that we use in today's video can be found in that description box below. If these stamping plates were not your cup of tea, head over to Maniology. There are tons of variety of stamping plates and polishes. You're definitely going to find something that catches your eye, and I'll see you all in the next one.